While figuring out the things that I want to sew, one of the main questions that have just permeated my brain space has been, what exactly is my style? Anything that has caught my eye has been something that I've sort of incorporated into the things that I put on my body. But in the last year or so, I've been making my clothes and slowly moving towards a place where I make, if not all of my clothing, because I hate sewing underwear. Most of the outerwear is what I would like to make myself. Florals. Like, I love prints. I'm always loving prints. I've been sewing with prints for years. So I love being in prints, and florals is just one of my favorite prints. Huge fan of Laura Ashley. Like, anything Laura Ashley shaped or flavored or coated, I'm gonna be into it. So I guess the only other thing that has impacted what I want to sew would have to be cartoons, anime, and pieces of pop culture. I don't know if you guys know about the fever dream that is Rick and Morty. With the power of sewing, I can make whatever the fuck I want. And I want to put this in a garment with florals. They go together, y'all. They go together. I don't want to mix these two fabrics with the aesthetic of Laura Ashley. Dump a little bit of me in there and see what I can create. I also really want to give sashiko stitching a go. I believe it's Japanese because sashiko. I believe it's Japanese. But I've been seeing it for a while and I really want to give it a go. And I think that this project would be a really cool place to try and do some stitching. I think it would add some really sweet elements to the construction in the garment. My name is Josh, lifelong doll collector, crafter, knitter, crocheter, all the things. And on this channel, we make shit. I'm gonna go ahead and open these up and I'm gonna give them a good steam. This is a table that you're seeing right here. This is where I sew. This is where I do all of my crafts in my room here. I've got a towel on top of the table here because I typically like to steam by spraying my fabric and then ironing it out. I could use the steamer function on my iron, but my iron was secondhand and it's kind of shit. So I like to steam that way. Also, I find this method to be very effective. I've been doing it ever since I was like, oh shit, ever since I was like 8. Right, so I typically like to, if it's a print, which there's always a print with me, I like to spray the back of the print. And I spray pretty heavily because I definitely want to smooth out these fold lines and everything. But I just was kind of taught to manipulate the back of the print when it comes to moisture and stuff, mainly from my grandmother. I don't really know if it matters at all. I don't think it does. I really don't think it does. I think it's just conditioning that I have from my grandmother, who was the main person that inspired and taught me to sew growing up. So I worked from the back, and then after I've steamed and done everything from the back, then I go to the front. Maybe you guys could tell me if there is actually a legitimate reason to manipulate the back of the fabric when it comes to steaming and stuff, if there's any like merit to that. Because I've never tested it. I've just only ever done it this way because all of my garments have turned out beautifully, so I just assumed that this was one of the steps that made that happen. But I actually don't know. So if anybody has any insight or anything on it, just let me know. Put it down in the comments. Let's talk about it. It's good. All right, now I'm gonna flip it over. And so the really fun part about a good fat quarter is my bodice block the bodice block that I use real often. It's my favorite bodice block, self-drafted. This is about most of the front of my bodice block. So I love picking up fat quarters because it's already like the focus of a really fun dress or a really fun top for my bodice block already. So it brings me joy. It brings me so much joy. Look at this fabric, y'all. I love this print. God, I love this print. Goodness gracious. And if you've actually seen Rick and Morty, you know that Rick, this motherfucker right here, is actually an entire problem for the entire universe. The galaxy, even. I forgot a key step. I gotta wash these. I hadn't washed them. They've been sitting for a while. And every good sewist knows that you're supposed to wash your fabrics before you sew it. Okay? Okay. I mean, it's just an extra fucking step that nobody wants to do. But I have to do it because I have very sensitive skin and have broken out from whatever the hell they have on these fabrics when you buy them from the store. So, yeah. We're going to hand wash these. And then I'm going to hang them up. And then when they're like dampish, then I'm going to iron them again. Yes, before we cut out our patterns. Let's do stuff right so we don't break out. Okay, so after washing that fabric, it's done. Yeah, I've already ironed it. It's dry. It's good to go. I haven't stitched or cut anything out. Actually, what I did was I sat for 3 hours. Shit, it's been 3 hours. Looking through inspiration, looking at different cuts of smock dresses and stuff, because I do think that this is probably going to be a smock dress, just because that's literally like my favorite cut. This is not a sponsor, but I did find Milanote through a sponsor, crazy enough. The inspiration is just easier for me to go through whenever I have it here, Milanote. So I have a few ideas for what I want to do for the cut of the dress. I think that I'm going to use my bodice blocks that I already have here, since they're sort of the shape already, and probably work up another bodice block, which is typically what I do. Like, this thing right here is like my basic bodice block. I'm going to create a bodice that I want to say the back is going to dip a little bit in the back, so it's a little bit longer in the back. And then I'm going to make it where it dips upward in the front, to give kind of like this big flowy sort of effect. I don't know if that made any sense.
Your pawn shop. If there's anything slightly wrong with it, they will not take it. So it pretty much, if it's not in like brand new conditions, they not gonna take it.
I'm here for all of it.
Okay. What you say?
I said I'm here for that. Girl, not you. I'm trying to cut out this pen. I want to use denim in this project because I mentioned that I wanted to do some sashiko stitching. Now, the stitching that I plan on doing is super simple. It's literally just a running stitch. But I wanted to use the denim because all of the other people that I've been seeing doing sashiko have been doing it on some form of cotton, mostly denims and like linens and stuff like that. Last night I went ahead and I drafted my bodice. Now I was trying to explain what I wanted to do. So this is the front bodice. Yeah, this is the front bodice. And what I want to do is have it come up slightly in the front while the back droops down in the back at the where the skirt will be at the bottom here. So this will go down and the front will go up like such. Yeah, that's what I want. Kind of want like there to be some sort of a, like from the side, I want there to be like a nice dip situation. Also, when I sit down, the skirt will cover my ass. This is what the bodice front piece is going to be comprised out of. There's going to be the Rick and Morty on the outermost sides where the sleeves and stuff will meet. And then I have these pieces of denim that my intention is to do some sashiko stitching, running stitches upward. That'll be stitched to this floral, and that'll just repeat on this side over. So what I'm about to do now is I'm going to stitch these together, and then I'll cut out my bodice piece on the fold. This fabric will be in the middle. So right here where you see this indentation here, so this indentation here is going to be like a little slit in the neckline for both ease and just my style. And ideally this floral piece will be in the middle right here on the fold. I've cut out the lining fabric for the bodice. I did no denim in the back, mainly because I plan on using like one of those little small pieces of denim, and I'm gonna tack it onto the back. I like to put little small pieces of fabric here, maybe a patch, maybe something just like here on the back to add some visual interest, but also remind myself not to neglect the back of my garment. What I think I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take a break and I'm going to practice straight stitching on a tiny piece of denim, doing the sashiko running stitch. I'm actually nervous. I don't think I need to explain to you guys how much I craft for my dolls. I mean, for God's sakes, we're in my doll room. You guys have been seeing these dolls this entire time. But what I typically do with embroidery thread is I crochet for my dolls. I do the same thing with like Aunt Lydia's crochet thread, but I like to crochet using embroidery thread as well because it gives me really good stitch definition. So that's why I have most of this, but I think I'm actually going to use some of my lovely embroidery thread and actually embroider. Maybe. I might chicken out and go to my crochet thread. Either way, some hand stitching will happen. So this patch right here, this patch of denim right here that's on the front panel, I am going to sashiko stitch it, but I'm going to work on a little swatch before I go to my bodice, just because I am nervous. I do like the way everything is looking though. I'm just a little nervous about the stitching because I've never done it, which is insane because I've embroidered before, but this is just a totally new technique that I'm trying, and I don't want to I don't want to ruin all of my work just because I don't know what I'm doing. Practice. Look at it. Oh my God, I love it so much. Oh my God, I love it so much. I will say that it is definitely, oh my God, look how it looks from behind. Wow. That is so beautiful. Damn, it looked better from behind than it do from the front. I think that this is amazing. I'm so happy that I finally took the plunge and just tried to give this a go. I would like to make it prettier. I do think it's very pretty right now. When I say I'd like to make it prettier, what I'm saying is I'd like to try different stitches. Once I get to a place where I feel confident in everything, I think maybe after I get this project underneath my belt, I think I'll want to do other stitches. But this is just the cutest thing. Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. And at first, my initial hesitance, or I guess worry that I had with sashiko is I was afraid that the stitches being ununiform would be unattractive to my eye. And I'm so happy to say that, no, I legit love this. This is so sweet. I would love to see what this would look like. I'm looking around because I'm looking at other threads and stuff, but I'd love to see what this looks like with a variegated embroidery thread or crochet thread. I think this is so cute. This makes me really excited to go ahead and give my bodice a go. Look at, I'm so proud of, okay, so this, where's the knot at? Okay, this is the knot. So these couple of lines at the top, you can clearly see I was trying to like get it together up here, these two lines. But as it continued to go, I found my rhythm and things started looking a lot less nervous and a lot more intentional and sweet. This, oh God. I am so happy to report that I did the front bodice. Look at my sashiko stitching, you guys. It turned out so fucking cute. And I was so nervous for no reason. So I did a little bit. I did 3 rows on either side. And honestly, it wasn't a whole lot of denim there. So I didn't want to overpopulate it because my hands are getting tired. And I used a pink and purple thread held together for the 2 on either side, and then in the middle there's just a blue. I doubled up on this embroidery thread because I felt like if it was too thin I wouldn't be able to see it, but now I feel like there really was no need. So the sashiko portion of this garment is kind of finished, although I think I might do a line around the hem of the dress once we get there. I have done that before, but I've never thought of it as sashiko, but it totally is. What I'm doing right now is, you see this stitch here? I was informed that this is the ladder stitch. I think it's the ladder stitch. It's on my machine and it's one of my favorite stitches on my machine. I personally like to do a contrasting thread and go right, kind of like stitching in the ditch, because it's 3 points. It starts in the middle, then it bumps to the other side. Can you see that? Yeah. So I kind of like stitch in the ditch, make sure I back stitch at the top and at the end. And I typically do that again for visual interest, but also after patchworking something and then cutting it out, you run a big risk of cutting through all of your stitches. So your garment doesn't fall apart later on in life, especially if you plan on like machine washing your garments. It's good to go back and hit those parts that have had their back stitching cut away. So I do that with this. That way I add visual interest, and I also fix, not really an issue, but also address my stitches that are not backstitched. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. So cute, so cute, so cute, so cute. So here we have the back panel of the bodice. The objective has always been to get that patch of sashiko stitching that I practice with onto the back of here. And I was gonna do it, and I wanted it to look really, really handmade. But I went around the patch with a zigzag stitch, and now I'm attaching it here to the back of the bodice with some thread. Not really paying any attention to what it looks like, because the objective here is for it to look like a dead ringer for a handmade garment. But then I added a skirt to it. Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. So it does look definitely handmade. It looks like somebody stitched it on there that didn't know what they were doing. And I love it. This is the state of our bodice. It's not finished at all. I actually have it pinned at the shoulder seams. I have finished the neckline, just it's not constructed at all yet because I want to put in some sleeves, which is that piece of patchwork that you just seen, this. So the objective here is to incorporate the same fabrics from the bodice into the sleeves because I want them to marry together pretty well. This piece of fabric right here is actually just something that I tossed in last minute because I had patchworked all of my fabrics in the bodice. So these fabrics were already patchworked, but I was just shy at the end here. So I just added that fabric at the end. It's not even at the back, but I felt like if I put this in the sleeve, it would, of course, marry it to everything here. What I think I'm gonna do today, finish my bodice, attach the sleeves, and try it on. Also, look how snowy it is outside. It's like every time I think spring has sprung and we're gonna be let loose from this frozen tundra that has been winter, it snows. God damn it. So here you see me taking some time to incorporate the fabrics from my bodice into one panel so that we can eventually cut out a nice sleeve, all while enjoying the snow. You'll notice that I'm not cutting this out accurately, and I'm doing that because I'm opting for a sleeve with a lot of ease. I kind of want these sleeves to be a little bit more on the full side, but not too full for the garment. With the bodice now, I'm connecting the bodice shoulder seams by splaying them out. So you see the outer fabric and the inner fabric, and I'll line those up, and then I'll pin them, and then I'll sew them. This creates a really nice seam that's completely encapsulated inside of the garment once it's completely done. So the bodice won't have any exposed seams once this is finished. I like to give all of my seams a nice press, and I press them open so that when they are folded over on each other, they'll lay nice and flat. There won't be any bulk or any need to trim these seam allowances down. Back to the sleeves, what you see me doing here is I'm putting in some basting stitches that I'll then use to gather the uppermost peak of the sleeve panel, and that'll help me work it into the bodice, and it'll also add like some nice visual flair because it'll be a little bit of a gather at the top of the shoulders. Now we're just pinning the sleeve panel to the bodice panel. I like to take my time and do this, make sure that I get everything lined up pretty nicely. That way my install can be pretty good. This is one of those parts of the project that I add a lot of pins. Usually I don't pin as much, but this is one of those places where I don't really give myself the space to mess up. So there's a lot of pins. And then I take my time and I sew it in. Ooh, Lord. So the bodice is finished. I'm just taking the time to go into some of my curved seams around the armhole, and I'm just taking my little ironing sponge that I made some time ago, and really getting in there so that I can iron out these seams. But speaking of seams, girl, I did a French seam underneath the armpit, and I have not tried my bodice on after I've done it, so I am a little nervous. I don't think that I don't think there's an issue like mechanically. Like, it'll work fine. I've just never put a French seam essentially in my armpit of a garment. This is the first time I'm doing that. I'm a little nervous that like my sensory issues will just kind of hate me for that decision. So we about to see, girl. I hope everything will be fine, because when I tell you that unpicking a French seam is a cruel and unusual punishment. So I'm hoping that everything works out. I really wanted the seam of the sleeve and the seam of the bodice to be encapsulated or otherwise not seen, that French seam, because that does that perfectly. So we'll see, girl, we will see. So, thoughts. I think my sleeves are too long. I thought I'd measure them where they would hit about here, right at the fold of my arm, but I think they're too long, and I probably made them just a touch too full. So I'm gonna have to do something to figure that out. I do like how the continuation of Rick and Morty is happening. It's doing the thing, the little diagonal thing that I wanted it to do. The sleeves is making this whole thing feel more like a tunic, which that's probably because I added this. This is making me feel like very tunic. Which is fine. I'm okay with it. I just feel like I need to suss out these sleeves before I'm 100% happy with it, because they're just so big. They're so big, but I did intend to make them big, so I can't really cry about it. I have a couple ideas of what I might do so that it sits up a little bit more, like maybe a little elastic or something. I don't know. I'm gonna have to play around with it to really see if I can find a fit that I really like. They're just really big. Like, that's my arm. You see what I mean? It's just, they're real big. Not really a problem. I just feel like I could do something. I have 2 fat quarters left of the Rick and Morty, and then the rest of it is just this, which I think I have like 4 yards of this stuff left. So I don't know. I didn't want to run into the situation where all of the floral was just like in one spot and all of the Rick and Morty was in one spot. I patchworked this bodice so that I could have some of this Rick and Morty fabric left over to go into the skirts, so that it didn't seem like an afterthought. These sleeves are really irritating me, and I did not want that. I did not want that. I will say this, those French seams that I did underneath the armpit, I sewed down with my favorite stitch. So the sensory issue that I thought I was gonna have isn't a thing, and it's just because the flap that French seams create, I sewed it down. So it's not making me feel crazy. And it'll be nice and neat and everything when I wash it. So I am happy about that. These sleeves are so fucking big. So big. And I also feel like I need to add a dart or something. You know what I mean? And I know it's not because the bodice is ill-fitting. The bodice fits fine. It's very comfortable. It's just these sleeves are so big. And I'm used to seeing myself with no sleeves, because I do like to layer, and I typically don't do sleeves if I'm gonna layer a garment. I don't know. Girl, these sleeves gotta come off. Okay, like, I'm just not enjoying them. But I did gather some thread real quick around the hem where I would ideally put elastic, and I think it's cute or whatever. But if I were to do that kind of like peasant sleeve situation, I would need for these sleeves to be hella full. And I just don't feel like this is full enough to do that. So I'm finna take this shit off. I just gotta go.
One eternity later.
Okay, so the bodice is done. Let me show you. She's so cute. I can't even fucking believe it. She always was, to be honest. She always was. She was always the adorable girl we intended her to be. Those sleeves just felt like baggage that we needed to drop. I've gone ahead and I've finished the arms. I think they call this understitching, where you stitch the seam allowance to the actual lining fabric, and that keeps the lining from wanting to come out to the good side, the side that you actually want to be on the outside. So she's done. I want this to kind of be a maxi. So I'm thinking I'm gonna be lazy. I'm gonna be lazy and take this fabric and make it the skirt. But I think that I could ideally patchwork these two together, and they might not equal the full length of what I want the skirt to be, but close. These sleeves are left over. It's got a finished edge. So I'm thinking I could cut this and maybe do like one of these moments where there's a little bit left on either side. Let me just put this bodice on real quick. I think I have about 3.5 yards of this floral fabric, and I'm thinking about just doing this. You know what I mean? I could gather it up real good and it would be nice and full. I do want pockets, which I was kind of thinking, do I want inset pockets or do I want like really nice box pockets? I don't know what to really call them. They're like panel pockets, I guess. It's essentially just a square and you sew it onto the skirt or whatever garment that you're trying to put it on. And they're nice and big and deep and open. And I like to put them on my tops a lot. I have messed up my hair a little bit. There's like fabric and like scraps in my hair. It's all over me too. Jesus. Oh, the joys of sewing. Yeah, I think I'm gonna lock in. I'm gonna go off camera and really figure out what I'm doing with these pockets. I need to figure out what I want to do with the pockets. I really do. I'm at a point where I'm constructing some pockets. It's just a couple of rectangles in different orientations. If you can actually see that, they blend in really good. So the back rectangle will be the main pocket, and I'm sewing this to the front to create a little small pocket, preferably for like keys, my phone, and this pocket will be like more utilitarian. Well, it's a pocket, I guess. It's all utilitarian. Anyway, I wanted to pop in and talk about my little loop that I like to put into some of my pockets. And it's from this. This is just like bias tape. And this is a single strip. And I guess I considered it a scrap. It was with my scraps. And I remembered it while working with this fabric because I was going to throw this thing away. And I guess I just wanted to gush about how happy I am that I could use this teeny tiny scrap. That's it. So I had real concerns about my skirt looking like an afterthought. So I took some time and I did some patchworking specifically for my skirt of the dress. I managed to also use those leftover pieces from my sleeve, and everything was going fine until I ran out of bobbin thread. And so with those finished edges on the end of the pieces that used to be my sleeves, I decided to opt for a flat felt seam since that would probably be a lot easier to encapsulate the edges of a raw fabric into a clean fabric. And then here you see me further patchworking my skirt, really getting in there and having fun with different fabrics that I had left over in my stash. Okay. I'm gonna hand gather because hand gathering is actually really therapeutic for me. It keeps me grounded in my project. It's also like I stay in really good control of what I'm doing. And it gives me an opportunity to really think about my project. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, she is officially finished. After taking some time and really locking in and completing my skirt and everything, I did some patchwork, I did some hand gathering, and then I attached it to this lovely bodice. I want to give you guys my thoughts about the project. So for one, I think I'm so into sashiko now. Like, I scoured the internet, been looking all over Instagram, watching TikToks and stuff, and I really have loved just the feeling of doing everything. Your hand gathering kind of centers me. Sashiko does that, but it feels even more impactful. So happy that I tried the sashiko stitching here because, yeah, I for sure think I'm going to incorporate more sashiko into my sewing repertoire. I'm very happy about that. The construction was fun. I always love a nice smock bodice situation. My straps are definitely thinner than I normally would make my bodice block. I've got very broad shoulders, but this looks really good to me. I tried this on without an undershirt last night when I finished the garment, and I was really surprised at how nice it actually makes my shoulders look, which I didn't realize that was something that I was missing out on this entire time. I also took the time to make this cute thing. The hat is just an upcycle, and it was kind of falling apart, like some of the beads and stuff. Some of the beads were falling off. It's pretty old. When I used to live in New York City, I bought this hat off the side of the street. There are vendors on the side of the street all up and through St. Mark's Place, and I got it from one of those vendors because I love kitschy stuff. Usually the stuff that people say is tacky, I'm into it. I'm so into it. It's cute to me. It's cute to me. So when I seen this tacky hat years ago, I had to pick it up. I think it was like all of $5, and I've kept it and I've worn it so much. It's literally falling apart in certain parts, like the band in the back. The band in the back is literally falling apart or whatever, and the beads and stuff. So I was like, we need to give Girly Pop a new lease on life. So I took some scraps from removing the sleeves and incorporating it into the skirt, and I made this bow and I stitched it on. I'm so happy. This makes me so happy. And I typically wear my hats as a snapback, like, ooh, here's all up. I typically wear my hats like such, you know? And yeah, see, that looks so much better to me. I typically wear my hats like this, and I love that I can see my bow in the back. I just think it's so cute. It's so cute. It's ridiculous. I love it. This project was a lot of fun. This is my very first me-made maxi dress specifically for me. I've made maxi dresses before, but this is mine. Now that I've told you guys about how I feel with my lovely new dress, I would love to hear from you guys. Tell me about what projects and stuff that you're working on. Are you sewing something that's giving you a hard way to go? Are you like me, where you figured out that you wanted something but then scaled back because you realized you didn't? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Enjoy my dress, you guys. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's so cute.